Hello everyone, sorry for doing wretched again, but I guess I'm just in a wretched mood. Now that video about creationism, I watched the whole thing before I made my response, so I knew it was gold. This, on the other hand, I've seen one tiny piece, and that was enough to make me want to respond to it because it was such a weird assertion. Beyond that, it could be the most boring video ever made, I have no idea. So if that's how this turns out, forgive me. Let's go on a journey of discovery together.
Why do morals work, generally?
Well, I suppose because they're a fundamental characteristic of human behavior. If they didn't work, generally, our entire world, our entire society would function completely differently. Which, who knows, might also work out. Maybe we'd survive, but that's not the kind of survival strategy we have. We're ultra-social animals, and we act like it, and it works out pretty well.
Who guides that process?
Us. I mean, even though there is significant biological evolutionary input into it, that's input into what we are, how we're made, how we think. So literally, evolution or not, God or not, like it or not, inevitably, we guide that process. We make the moral judgments. We try to guide our societies towards what we think is right. And that's going to be based on different understandings of the world. For some people, there's going to be a religious element to it, for some people not. Either way, every single one of us is stuck making moral decisions based on our biology, based on our culture, based on our personal experience, and based on our own understanding of what the facts of reality are, such as what the consequences of actions will be. In your case, which actions get you sent to heaven or hell. In my case, what the actual outcome of actions is in reality. Okay, maybe that's too flippant. In the living world. Let's put it that way.
Who determined them?
Us. See previous answer, I guess?
To give it to natural selection, if you want to do that, then you actually undermine the foundation of your evolutionary belief, because you believe that things got here by dog eat dog, by survival of the fittest.
Well, it's certainly not just natural selection. I mean, there are a lot more selective processes going on at this point in human history than just natural selection. And of course, then each individual has their own life to deal with too. So it's not just natural selection. But let's say it is. Let's say the only input to human morality is biological, it's hardwired in the brain when you're born, and you say this is incompatible with survival of the fittest? We are the fittest. Look at what we've done as a species. No other animal can compete with us. We're the fittest, and to a large extent, that's a consequence of our ultra-social behavior, which includes our morality, our behavior towards each other. Our ability to act as a group, to reduce conflict, to cooperate and collaborate. That is our fitness. So how is it incompatible with survival of the fittest? I mean, for you to say that makes it sound like you have a child's understanding of this concept. Oh, a dog has bigger fangs than we do, so it's more fit for every single environment. A shark can easily eat a human alive if it wants to, so it must be the fittest. Well, no, it's about the fitness of survival in a given environment. And the great thing about humans is our unbelievable adaptability, our ability to survive in an incredibly wide range of environments. And I promise you, if you're stuck in a really hard environment, you're going to really value the help and goodwill of other people. And they're going to value it from you as well. There's no benefit to anyone, including yourself, of acting like a rabid dog in that scenario, or indeed in almost any scenario. This is why people who do really bad things draw the ire of the entire group. And if they're caught, it will make their life worse, not better.
Therefore, any kindness, any goodness, any self-control, any restraints that I put on my behavior that benefit you are bad.
Really, is that your experience in real life? That if you show kindness and goodness and self-control, your life generally gets worse? That other people suddenly dislike you and that your ability to operate within the society is diminished by this? Is that actually your experience? Because I highly doubt it. If it is, that's very unfortunate. You've definitely been dealt a bad hand, but to declare that as the default just seems asinine. Can you describe the actual specific set of circumstances you're thinking of here? Because this doesn't match my idea of how human societies work at all.
Because if I'm stronger than you, then I should be able to take advantage of you, and we need to just weed you out.
Wait, weed who out? The weak one or the strong one? You know, the funny thing about humans is we have this way of ganging up on the bully. If one person starts going way too far and just goes, I'm strong, so I have the right to kill everybody. I mean, okay, sometimes there are systems in place that make it very difficult for people to do anything about it. But setting that aside, in general, when that kind of thing happens, we do have the tendency to do something about it. And I think that is part of the core of human morality. Most of us don't appreciate being treated in that way, like disposable things to be murdered for the benefit of the strong. And given the fact that we can can coordinate as groups to accomplish tasks, including taking down the strong guy, it's not always a great idea to start acting like that. And when this kind of reaction to the bully starts happening over and over again through thousands, millions of years of evolution, these things kind of start to get ingrained, probably into the brain, it probably tames us a little bit, and certainly into our culture. I mean, look at the number of admonitions we have against that kind of behavior, and look at the way that most people don't really show any sign of wanting to engage in it. Do you think this has been a detriment to us as a species? Do you think we should have been just randomly rampaging around, murdering each other, taking from each other? What do you think? Should we have been eating each other too? I mean, it gives you nutrients, right? So it's beneficial. Or is it? Think about your life. Would it be beneficial if someone caught you cannibalizing someone? Would that make your life better? Would it make your society better? Would it make anything better? Would it make your species more fit if we all acted like that? Would it make us more likely to survive in general? Even in incredibly extreme circumstances. You remember that there was a book and then a movie, I think, about a plane that crashed in some mountains in a really cold environment. I don't remember where. Okay, I just looked it up in my hat computer. It was Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. So look that up if you want the story. And the people didn't even know where they were. They had no way out of it. And at some point, they resorted to cannibalizing the bodies of people that had died. Not to killing each other and eating each other, but just to eating the dead. In the end, some of them did in fact survive. Do you think it would have been more beneficial for them to kill and eat each other? Do you think they would have survived better? Do you think on average each one of those people would have had a better chance of survival? Because let me remind you what actually happened. Some of the people took it upon themselves to pick a direction and go that way and try to find someone who could help. Meanwhile, the other people did their best to all stay alive. And in the end, the people who went on the journey did in fact find someone to help, and the helpers came and found some of the people still alive at the site of the crash. A decent number of people involved in that incident survived. If they'd just been murdering and eating each other the whole time, that wouldn't have happened. Maybe in the end, some of them would have risked their lives to try the journey to see if they could get to safety, but then they also wouldn't have sent anyone back to help the others, and those people definitely would have died. Which group is more fit? You tell me. And if you think it worked out better with them acting the way they did, then tell me again that morality is not compatible with natural selection.
We need to just weed you out, says evolution.
Oh, so we need to weed out the people who are a burden on the group? Is that the idea? The weak? The people who make it harder for us to survive? Okay, well, you're the weak. The one who just wants to commit crimes and be a bastard. That's the weak one. You're the one who's a burden on the group. You're the one who makes it harder to survive. So survival of the fittest, gang up, and beat the bully. As Kent Hovind would say, weed out the mean gene. I'm using that in a very different context, though. And also, obviously, it's not nearly that simple. In no way am I advocating for eugenics. In fact, you know what? I retract it altogether because I don't want to give legitimacy to Kent Hovind's nonsense. The point is, though, if you're going to have group survival, the most beneficial people to have are the ones who actually contribute to that, who don't attack the group. Morality.
And so if you say morals evolved, nope, sorry, you cannot have your evolutionary cake and eat it too.
You can all you want, but it's pretty clear that natural selection would favor moral behavior in ultra-social animals. Your point no longer stands. All you have now is no, which is not terribly compelling. I'm curious, how much thinking did you actually do about this before you made the video? Because it doesn't seem like you did much, and in fact, it doesn't seem like you understand what natural selection is at all, which is just the most surprising thing ever.
You cannot explain hospitals, yet you visit one when you need one.
I can't explain hospitals. Okay, I guess, audience, leave a comment if you can explain hospitals. Hospitals go in, hospitals go out. You can't explain that. The explanation for hospitals is people want a place to go when they're sick, where people who are specialized in treating people who are sick can treat them. You know, to help people in general be more fit for survival. But apparently making it easier for ourselves to survive is somehow against survival of the fittest. Not sure how you square that circle. What's next? Are you going to start saying you can't explain farms, shoe stores, schools, restaurants? You can't explain that. Really, all of society is just a nebulous, incomprehensible blob of unmotivated actions, all of which make us less fit for survival as a species, which makes it a bit confusing that our population keeps exploding, but never mind that. Nothing we do ever makes any sense or improves things on average for most people, and no human motivation can ever possibly be comprehended by a mere human being. Do not venture down the path of trying to understand these bizarre creatures, lest you become mad.
You perhaps mock Christian charity, but you sure are grateful for it when you receive it.
Why would I mock that? The only time I mock that is when you say you're doing charity and then you just donate to your church so they can hand out Bibles. Really helping the poor there. But if you're actually doing charity, actually doing good work, I'm not going to mock that. Most people wouldn't mock that. You want to run a soup kitchen and your motivation is that you think Jesus wants you to? Fine. Great. Go for it.
The entire godless system cannot explain the metaphysical realities of this planet.
Like hospitals?
Who made up these realities?
Who made up metaphysical hospitals? The people who made the hospitals, I guess.
God himself. When we follow them, things tend to go well, even if you don't believe in him. If you don't, it can't. I didn't say it won't. It can't.
Hold on. Things can't go well if you don't follow the metaphysical realities, such as not running around murdering people because you think you're physically stronger and building hospitals. In other words, to take the much more fundamental message from that, if people don't act socially, if people don't act like they care about other people in general, if we don't cooperate, if we don't get along at all, if we just attack one another and hurt one another, things can't go well. Yes, I agree. That's why it's compatible with natural selection. If you act like that, things don't go well, and your species dies. It's not fit to survive. Good job killing your own argument.
Let's just say, for instance, you had 1 million people, all pagans, stay married. That community is going to be stronger, even if they don't believe in God.
Yeah, probably. I have very little difficulty believing that. I think that there's definitely something of value, especially for kids, in having two parents in the house, two people who can cooperate to make things work, people whose interactions can set an example for the kids. Of course, it's certainly not a universal rule that things will go better if you're married and will go worse if you're not. Not at all, but on average, yeah, at the very least, I don't find it too hard to believe. And again, I think that goes back to our ultra-social behavior. We've come up with these social conventions and social ways of interacting that, in general, have helped us survive. I mean, that's why people are into these ideas. Because to a greater or lesser extent, depending on the idea, there's value in it in terms of survival.
Similarly, if you've got an economy where there's 1 million people and a good chunk of them are getting divorced, you're going to see instability.
An economy where there's 1 million people. So you're talking about economic instability? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the stats on that, but I mean, maybe. Sure, it's not outside the realm of plausibility, I guess. If it is true, I would imagine that it has something to do with the effects of that situation on the parents and the kids. Maybe the parents have more difficulty making money if they're single, or maybe some number of the kids get emotional issues from having to watch their parents split up, from having to see dad on the weekend, and then, I don't know, maybe they end up concentrating less in school on average, or it's harder to send them to college, so they make less money, and so on average, the people in the society are making less money, and therefore you have economic issues of some sort, or whatever else. The point is cause and effect, right? If this were found to be a hard and fast rule in society, there would be some sort of reason for that.
Regardless of faith. Why? Because that is a metaphysical law of God.
Oh, right. Never mind. Nothing in the world ever happens for an actual reason. Decisions could never possibly statistically lead to one consequence or another unless God done it. Why does my weighted die keep coming up on 6? Must be a metaphysical law of God.
Speaking of divorce, Generation X. And that would be if you were born between 65 and 80. That number keeps moving, apparently.
Yeah, because you realize these generations aren't actual real things. Yeah? They're just labels people slap onto kids born within some rough range of time to sort of indicate the cultural moment that they were born into. They're not real. There are no hard and fast borderlines between them. You can kind of set it roughly wherever you want.
You're suffering from an alarming divorce trend. Yikes.
Are you saying that statistically Generation X is more likely to get a divorce? But that's not possible with natural laws. You've discovered a new metaphysical law of God, sir. Gen X gets divorced more. I feel like I've really learned something about the fundamental nature of reality today.
Gen Xers are less satisfied in their marriages, less likely to seek help, that's a shame, and ripe for divorce as their kids leave home and the patterns shift.
Wait, patterns? Patterns like of stuff happening. No, that implies natural things happening. You know, stimulus X causes response Y. Don't be absurd. It's a metaphysical law of God. We've established that already, okay?
Please be warned about this. Just know when your kids leave the home, there's going to be a radical shift in your house. You need to know that. Suddenly, the the priorities, the rhythms of a home, they will shift. They will change.
No, I refuse to accept that people's decisions and actions are in any way based on their interpretation of their circumstances. No, it's a metaphysical law.
Can you get rid of all of the waves that are bound to hit your marital boat? No. But you can be prepared to chart a course through them by recognizing the primary relationship in a home is marriage.
So what you're trying to imply is that Generation X puts less value on the concept of marriage and therefore they get divorced more? Ugh, you atheists and your natural causes. What humbug.
Marriage. That's what brings you together today and every day.
Princess Bride reference, right? I don't think most people are going to get that. It just kind of sounds weird. I like it.
If mom and dad aren't getting along, how do the kids fare?
Well, I don't know, Todd. I don't have a copy of the metaphysical law books about the knock-on effects of parents not getting along. If you mail it to me, I can look it up.
Poorly. Why?
I don't know. I can try to guess, I suppose. The home is less happy, less nurturing, less attention paid to the child because I guess the parents are fighting all the time or something. Kind of an angrier, sadder environment that's not as conducive to adjusting well. I mean, how far am I supposed to go here? I could sit here coming up with reasons all day, but I'm not sure how much value there really is in me doing that. I mean, no matter how many I bring up or how much I emphasize that there's nothing very puzzling about different events and circumstances leading to different statistical rates of a given outcome, you're just gonna scream God done it and ignore me, so
Another metaphysical law. That's just the way the place runs.
Told you so. All right, well, I'll tell you, I went ahead and checked the rest of the video to see if there was anything else interesting to go over here, and not really. He kind of complains about marijuana legalization, and he talks about the Noah's Flood thing again that we went over for 3 videos just a little while ago. And just, yeah, there's not much for me to work with, so even though this is a bit shorter than usual, this feels like the right place to end the video. Now, in case you're curious, the claim I heard that got me to make this video was the claim that kids tend not to be affected very well when their parents get divorced, and therefore that's a metaphysical law from God. That was what made me want to respond to this, just because it's such a non-argument. Like, stuff happens, and sometimes the stuff that happens in the world statistically affects people more one way than another way, and that's just impossible to explain, therefore God. When you think about it, it's probably one of the more ridiculous claims we've had around here for a while, although it was definitely topped by how do you explain hospitals. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a like and click subscribe if you haven't. As usual, the biggest thanks I can give to all of my supporters on any platform. If you want early access, you can sign up to the email list at list.logicked.com. That really helps me keep in touch in case anything weird happens with YouTube, and I'll see you next time.